What is going on, Notre Dame fans? Mike's here and Kyle Kelly live on the Blue and Gold YouTube channel. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whenever you're tuning in, watching live, listening back in the United States and Europe, Australia. I don't know where you're at, but appreciate you for making us a part of your day. Kyle and I run the recruiting operation at Blue and Gold, and we are very much looking forward to today's show. This is, I would say, like the last day for how like 6 or 7 weeks where it's like we can take a breath, which I guess maybe that isn't true because we got some news, about a couple hours ago about a Notre Dame commit taking an official visit to Georgia. And we're going to talk about that in today's show. So it's balls to the wall season, ladies and gentlemen, and pardon my French for the ladies. This is just that time of the year where recruiting, it's been busy, especially if you're following Blue and Gold because we cover it like nobody else, but it is even busier than before. Folks, please hit the thumbs up on this video if you're watching on YouTube. Subscribe to the Blue and Gold YouTube channel for more content. And blueandgold.com is your home for all things Notre Dame Fighting Irish football and recruiting coverage. Kyle, I trust that you're well. I'm not just going to throw you a how are you doing, Kyle? Because I don't know where you're going to take it. So we'll start, Kyle, with Thomas Davis Jr., the Notre Dame linebacker commit. News breaking this morning that he is officially visiting Georgia this weekend. He is, of course, the son of Thomas Davis Sr., a former, I believe, a consensus All-American for the Bulldogs in the early 2000s, and then went on to play for the Panthers for a long time. And we get this news that Thomas Davis Jr. is officially visiting Notre Dame. The Notre Dame commit officially visiting Georgia this weekend. I wrote an article about this at Blue and Gold about 20 minutes before we went live, and it's a premium article. I'm gonna leave the nuts and bolts out of this YouTube channel and leave it for our Blue and Gold subscribers. But I think the gist here is that Notre Dame sources are not concerned about this. But at the same time, guys, we've heard that many times before, and it did not work out for Notre Dame. I believe we've said on this program before that it's been quite a while. Like, who's the last Notre Dame commit to take an OV elsewhere and then still sign with the Irish? It's been a long time. I'd say over a decade or so. We'll see. But you're nervous for those reasons. Notre Dame sources feel one way. Kyle, how do you feel?
I feel the same way you do, kind of, with just based on the history of Notre Dame commits, not just visiting elsewhere, but officially visiting elsewhere. It's why they had that policy back in the 23 class that has kind of been over elaborated and over analyzed a little bit about, where they didn't allow any recruits to take opposing official visits. That was Keon Keeley, Peyton Bowen, that whole class. And that didn't end up mattering because all those guys ended up flipping. And I remember being on this program a year ago when Ivan Taylor, I think he just straight up flip to Michigan, but I think Notre Dame was kind of still in the picture at some points. And, I had said that, maybe I thought Ivan Taylor would be an outlier just because I remember, like, you got to know him, I got to know him. He was a complete Notre Dame kid. Like, the fact that he ended up flipping to Michigan and then to Alabama, where he eventually signed, that was a real stunner to me because I felt that he checked all the boxes for the type of kid that Notre Dame recruits. It just obviously didn't end up working out. So I'm not going to be fooled again. This is my third or fourth year covering Notre Dame recruiting. And every time these Notre Dame commits officially visit schools, they end up flipping elsewhere. So I'm kind of wondering, where does it end with Thomas Davis Jr.? Because before Georgia offered earlier this month, he had told me that he was already planning to visit other schools with his cousins, Aiden and I think Andrew Harris, who both attend the same high school as him. And Thomas Davis Jr. told me at the time that he was just more so accompanying
That's
them.
something that we've known since before he committed, though. Like, that was always the plan. Like, he lives with his cousins, I believe.
It's definitely a unique circumstance, but still, now other teams are going to know that Thomas Davis Jr. is looking elsewhere. I understand this is a unique connection because his father went to Georgia, uh, but I know this Georgia offer was very meaningful to the family, regardless of the timing. So I don't feel great about it. And if I'm Notre Dame, I don't want to be dramatic, but I think internally in South Bend, you can't consider Thomas Davis Jr. in the class anymore.
Well, they do.
We've seen this story way too many times.
I, I,
I think they need to
I'm,
start evaluating other linebackers, start lining up other guys to
they,
target. I think they need to have contingency plan because I don't care how confident they feel in South Bend right now. We've heard this way too many times
okay.
before.
All right, let me
I'm
interrupt you.
concerned about his commitment being on the ropes.
Yeah, I hear you. The thing is, they should already be lining up contingency plans because they want one more linebacker, and they only have two on the board. And Talanoa Illy, we feel like is a pretty long shot, regardless. And Tank King is like what a 50-50 proposition between Notre Dame and A&M, so they need to be doing that regardless. But I don't know, dude. I'm on the fence between your line of thinking with we've seen this before, but it's kind of like with wide receivers in Notre Dame. It's like, how many times am I going to be fooled to buy into Notre Dame wide receiver room finally being good and just kind of the passing attack in general to be like as hyped up as it going to be? Like, how many times am I going to buy into it? Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to keep buying into it. Now PFF's putting out Notre Dame's receiver rooms the 10th best in the country. Like, I don't know. I guess
I got a kick out of that.
I guess I'm going to just continue on with that. So yeah, I covered Keon Keeley, I covered Peyton Bowen, I covered Ivan Taylor, I covered Deuce Knight. Like I've seen this even more times than you have, Kyle.
I covered those guys too. 23 is my first recruiting cycle, so that's why I'm saying I don't want to be burned again because
yeah,
I made myself look stupid last year coming
no, you
on here
didn't.
with Ivan
No, you
Taylor
didn't. You
saying
made
that.
yourself look dumb any other time you spoke. I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, I'm just saying though. I
Listen,
mean, last year at this time, I said the same thing with Ivan Taylor that I thought they were going to keep him. I thought it would be different.
but all right,
And
are we going
maybe I do kind of
emotions?
feel that way about Thomas Davis Jr. I'm just that's
Are we
not the
going
stance I'm in.
emotions or like
No, just this is complete.
right
This is
now? Are we
just
going with
this is
logic or like
complete logic.
emotions?
This is math. This is A plus B equals C. Hey,
Which is not always accurate in recruiting.
well, it has been for Notre Dame. When Notre Dame commits visit elsewhere on official visits, they flip. When's the last time it hasn't happened? You said it yourself.
I know I
I'm
did.
partly
All right,
adopting
so
this
Kyle,
viewpoint.
are you predicting that Thomas Davis Jr. flips? Is that what you want to do?
I'm not predicting it, but I'm
Well, then what,
expecting
what? Come on, put your nuts on the table one way or another. I'm saying he sticks.
it.
I'm saying he sticks.
That'd be great. I mean,
So
I could see it, but I feel like it's gonna trend away from Notre Dame. This visit was kind of kept under the wraps, which concerns me. I know other sites have talked to Thomas Davis Jr. pretty recently. I think you've communicated with him as well. He's been pretty vocal about being locked in and that he wasn't going to visit any other schools. And this one sort of pops up out of nowhere. And I'm not going to act like, I wasn't expecting it. Like I wasn't caught off guard when, Chad Simmons dropped a note on the message board today. But, it's maybe if it was communicated a little bit better, I would feel
but
a little more
who cares? Well,
optimistic.
but
But at
what
the
does it
end of the
matter
day, man,
if it was
it's
communicated
pretty
to you?
simple.
It was communicated to Notre Dame, which is the important thing. Like they're not surprised about it. So if Kyle Kelly would have known it the day before, then it's okay. But what does it matter when we know?
Okay, so I must have misunderstood your report then because when I was reading that intel update on Blue and Gold this morning, I know we don't want to give up a ton away, but I was under the impression that Notre Dame had learned of it, not necessarily today, but recently. I'm not under the impression that like this was communicated that like when Georgia offered that, hey, I might be visiting, I might visit Georgia, this is a possibility. It seems like he has always said that he's going to remain locked in and not take any visits elsewhere.
When I asked him if he was going to take visits, hold on. I don't think so. That's what he said. So I don't think so. And it is. And we don't know all the circumstances here. So I'm going to look. I'm very torn on how to feel about this because there's the history side of it, but then there's also what happened with Deuce Knight does not impact what happened with Thomas Davis Jr. They're very different people, different recruitments, just different circumstances, all the above. But we're going to move on from there. But if in case you're just joining us, Thomas Davis Jr., Notre Dame linebacker commit, visiting Georgia, that is the fact of the matter. And I will definitely agree on the point of you have to have at least some level of concern. I'm not freaking out, but I also am not like matching optimism in South Bend about like, good man, good. I'm not there either, but I'm more leaning that way than Kyle seems to be more leaning towards the other way, which knowing both of us probably adds up. Kyle, folks talk about Roback. There's one way to describe Roback, which is best fit and best feel. If you're not familiar with the company, they're completely changed the game with their incredibly comfortable active wear, and they have a fantastic Notre Dame line. We had a guy in a show earlier this week say that he purchased the Notre Dame Dancing Clover, and it's something that I will be picking up soon. I have the other 3 polos here, the Fighting Irish, the Golden Dome, and the Notre Dame Stadium. Wear them all the time, especially when I do these shows. And if I'm going to an outing and I can wear a polo, it's definitely what I'm wearing. I get tons of compliments. And I'm not a golfer, but I imagine if you're a golfer, you're going to be rocking your Roback. And Roback has signed partnerships with past Notre Dame stars like Audric Estime, Kyle Hamilton, Michael Mayer, Riley Leonard, and Ben Morrison. Man, it feels weird saying Ben Morrison's a former athlete. When you go to Roback.com, you'll see a 15% off. X out of that. You don't need that. Use the promo code BLUEGOLD20 for a generous 20% off for all new customers. That's 20% off all performance polos, shorts, and more with that promo code BLUEGOLD20. So they have more than just Notre Dame stuff. I mean, they have a ton of products. So check it out. Roback.com, RHOBACK.com. Okay. What even was next, Kyle? Marcus Freeman met with the media yesterday. Kind of a weird, unique deal where a couple media sessions where Notre Dame breaks it up. So Blue and Gold and some others met with Freeman, and then some other outlets met with Freeman afterwards. And with the second group, Freeman spoke about some recruiting topics, Kyle. So I will give you the floor on what Freeman had to say about recruiting.
Maybe a poor time segment as we talked about this before the Thomas Davis Jr. news. But as you mentioned, 2 separate sessions yesterday. We weren't there. They only allowed 2 people per outlet. And obviously with Jack Sobel and Tyler Horka being our main 2 beat guys, definitely had the privilege to meet with Freeman over us. So they met with him first, and then second group of guys.
We don't need to drop other sites. Yeah. What do you say about recruiting?
Yeah, but so this quote came, the main quote that I was focusing on came with the second session, and just a little bit about kind of how the national championship has played a role in recruiting, and specifically with recruits in the South, and just doing some preliminary research. And Notre Dame has 11 commits from guys what I would consider the South, like a Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, and Texas. Not going to get into the argument about which states are in the South and which states are not. Let's just basically
you did fine. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, states that are a little bit atypical to Notre Dame recruiting, not your Illinois or California or some of the schools out east that they've been successful with lately. So anyway, Freeman addressed the success there, telling people that I think young people are interested in Notre Dame football. We all think that's a crazy statement. Who wouldn't be interested in Notre Dame football? But some of the young people, before we made this championship run, probably weren't just, hey, I'm interested in Notre Dame football. Now the brand, the faces, it's recognizable for all those guys, and they want to at least hear about Notre Dame football. Now that's just a part of the piece, right? You're interested in listening. Now, how do we get the young person to believe in what the entire package of Notre Dame football truly can offer you? If you don't get them to even listen, then you'll have zero chance. I think now we at least have a chance. I would say so. Like I said, they have 11 guys committed from the South in the 25, or no, we're in 26, in the 26 class, and that's the most guys they've had committed from the South since 2018 when they signed 11. So this is not something we've really seen before. And with the 25 guys that are uncommitted guys, are either going to unofficially or officially visit Notre Dame in June. Over half those guys, 13 of them, are based in the South. So Notre Dame played in Atlanta in the national championship with Ohio State. Played in College Station to open the season. Also played in Miami and New Orleans. So Notre Dame's had a pretty national footprint. They always have, but I think we're starting to see some of the benefits of playing in the national championship game and having all that success pay off on the recruiting trail. People have really kind of wondered when that's going to happen and how's it going to happen. And I think this is kind of the explanation of it. You got your guys in the South, you're getting players from, top high school football states like Georgia, Texas, and Florida. And I think that's only going to continue to pay dividends for the program.
100%. So it's like all these kids who in a normal year without Notre Dame having a national championship run would be interested in the Irish, right? But like Notre Dame fans, you want kids who, value academics, but it's okay if I interview a recruit and I say, what interests you? And he doesn't say academics. Notre Dame could still land that kid. This is not Brian Kelly's Notre Dame where a kid says, oh yeah, I just want to, go to college and play NFL. Like before, it's like Notre Dame's probably not going to land that kid, right? Now they still can because Notre Dame's doing it on the field and in the classroom. So I mean, you can land your Kobe Clappers from, a school called St. Xavier, and then you can also land, a kid like Jonas Walton from, Carrollton, Georgia Central High School, which Walton is a super Notre Dame fit, by the way. But now you have the academic, like obviously Notre Dame is, 95 whatever percent of schools, especially at the power conference levels, and 99%. You can beat all those schools academically, but now on the field, Notre Dame can entice more kids from the South because they're doing it. So good stuff. Was there anything else on that end, Kyle?
I just want to elaborate on that real quick because do you remember when Jonas Walton's first Notre Dame visit was?
5 days after, yeah.
Yeah, 5 days after the national championship. Do you remember what Rodney Dunham's comments were to Steve Wiltfong after Notre Dame advanced to the national championship? After beating Penn State, he told Wiltfong, I'm just going off memory, but I think it's pretty much verbatim that, he said that Notre Dame's now one of his top schools, and he's definitely going to start looking into them more. So that occurred with Rodney Dunham as well. So I think just those two guys right there, Notre Dame's on-field success mattered a whole lot in their recruitments. And a couple of the other comments coming out, I sent some of them over to you, but I know the one theme was about Notre Dame's start in the class, how it looks a little bit different compared to before. Also the let's see here. Yeah, how about grad assistants and analysts having a larger role in recruiting? We can probably talk about that another time when we touch on more coaches on the road. But
yes. Yeah, just real quick on that. I think that is a shift from Bowden to no Bowden. I think analysts that's a thing that's taken place due to shifts in the Notre Dame personnel office. That's my read on the situation. And I think those guys have done a really good job, especially since the coordinators at Notre Dame, you're basically a mini head coach. Being an offense or defense coordinator is an incredible position, and even heck, special teams coordinator to even hit the road, which I think It's
It's
probably
not a
a
big deal,
because
especially with
he just area recruits. He just is like, I'm going to Indianapolis, or it's like I'd rather have J. Cod and Mickens on the road than which Marty Biaggi's a great coach and he's helped Notre Dame land some kids, but I think the analysts like Biven did a great job, the tight ends assistant, Nick Sebastian, Javon Codlin. I think that was the main ones.
well, here's the other one. This goes back to the area of recruiting, which obviously you're talking on right now. Um, let me see what Freeman said. I don't know if he called it a no-brainer, but no one should recruit Hawaii but Myron. It's called common
Yeah,
sense.
there's another one. Myron
Yeah,
hit the
I
road.
mean, so Marty Biaggi, his area, one of his areas when he was on the road was Marty Biaggi, and
Yeah.
no offense to Marty
Yeah.
Biaggi, I mean, he obviously did a great job, but like Freeman said, it really is common sense. Like you got Myron Tagovailoa Amosa, who is now Notre Dame's director of recruiting and advancement. Grew up in Hawaii, played his high school football there, has tons of ties to the state. So I love that they got him out on the road, and especially saw some of Notre Dame's recruits out west. So I love their approach, man. I know some people are getting annoyed that Notre Dame doesn't have their coordinators out on the road, but I mean, let's be honest, that's not the reason why Chris Ash and Mike Denbrock are here. They're not here to go see recruits, and they're more focused on their side of the ball and the
Yeah.
on-field
Yeah.
success. And quite frankly, you can sell that if you're Notre Dame. Those guys are focused on who's here now, and I mean that's not to say that those guys aren't involved in recruiting, because I know
Right.
when Notre Dame had kids on campus in the spring, they all met with Denbrock and Ash. So
Right. So Ash didn't hit the road, right? I
not to
don't
my
think he
knowledge,
did.
man. Not to my
But
knowledge.
also, it's not like we don't have anyone seeing the linebackers. Ash doesn't have a position, right? So you had Mickens and J. Cod doing DBs, Bola linebackers, and Washington and Sebastian doing defensive line. So it's not like Chris, like he doesn't have a position. Mike Denbrock does coach the tight ends, and he did go see all Notre Dame's top 10 end targets. So
That's a good point.
he just only did a week. He just did all of the, and then you could see a kid twice. So Evan Jacobson, shout out Henry School. Denbrock went and saw him, and talking about the spring eval period here, like he saw his top guys, and then Biven followed up and saw all of those folks again. Please hit the thumbs up on this video. Subscribe to the YouTube channel for more content. I'm just kidding. It's
Oh,
not going to do it
geez.
for
I was like,
today's
whoa,
segment.
wait a sec.
I do think we're probably going to cut the last segment that we had today, Kyle, just because we added the Thomas Davis Jr. stuff. So just a quick rundown on. I'm actually going to write
Are we
this
doing a
as a
visitor preview this weekend, bro?
yes. We're
All
going
right,
about to
let's
get to
go. We
that.
got some
And
big targets on. How about
we
Notre Dame
we
getting in
do.
the game here for this weekend?
Yes, we're going to get to that in a second, which I'm pumped.
Wait,
I'm
real
pumped.
quick.
Yeah.
I just saw this. This has got to be referring to golf. I had my first round on Memorial Day.
I think I think he's talking about this. There's a new XP system on YouTube, and
No,
I
we're
don't know.
talking about golf. As far as I'm
Oh,
concerned, anytime we're talking about breaking 100,
all right. Well, Swan Dong can chime in, and maybe we can't
yeah,
settle the
he's
Thomas
definitely
Davis
referring.
Jr. thing first.
He's
But
referring to something on YouTube, but I don't know.
hey,
I
I was
hope
right for the first time. There we go. There we go.
I had my first round on Memorial Day, man, and
How was it?
not great. I shot like a 105, which is not good. I don't know. We don't have to get in. Oh, wait a sec. He said for golf, though. So I started real quick, not to talk too into the weeds about the whole golf game, but last year I started calculating my handicap, and I was a 12 handicap last year, which is fine. I would rather be in the single digits. I had my personal best round of an 82 last year, and then to go out there for the first time on Monday and shoot like a 104 or whatever, it was not great. So I might have to go down to Indy, take some golf tips from Steve Wiltfong, who I know is pretty good
Hmm.
at swinging the clubs.
Yeah, the last time we were supposed to have Steve on, he called me that morning. It's like honestly, bro, I got a tea time. I was like, go play. I was like, go
If
play.
it was a Friday, Steve plays on Fridays. Fridays is basically the only time that dude can take time off, because like he is grinding Monday through Thursday,
Yeah.
and like on the weekends, I mean that guy doesn't sleep.
Yeah.
So He's not golfing on the weekends, man. Maybe in the
Swandon
morning.
said both. I don't believe him. I love it. I was gonna say something else. Oh, I golfed once in my life, except for like Top Golf, which I do not enjoy Top Golf. I'll hit a few good strokes, and then it's like, all right, got the little donuts where you inject the the filling or whatever, and it's like, all right, yeah, this is like $40 though. So how it's not that worth.
What do you think about their food there, man? Have you ever ate there?
It's good, yeah, it's fine.
I haven't even really ate there because I just don't get that impressed by it. I think it's also like kind of gross, like eating and like going and swinging those clubs and like everyone's using the same clubs and then you're eating the food and it's just
Yeah,
like
use a fork.
yeah, but like
It's overpriced, but it just depends. Like if it was just like a date, if like a date with a girl, like a first date or something, great place, very classy. I mean, not very classy, but I think it's a classy date, I guess I should say. But my mom used to work at a country club, and I had to do something where I just swung a few clubs and I could get something autographed by a professional golfer, and I did. That's the only time I've ever really touched a golf club. Not a guy, not a golf guy. Okay. I wanted to lay this out real quick, and I'm gonna write this as an article at Blue and Gold either today or tomorrow. Like, Kyle, sometimes I think we can assume that people know what the heck we're talking about. Like, I thought everyone kind of understood a spring game in the South, but this year it's like, what do you mean they're playing football in May? What? Never before has that happened in my 12 years, but this is the year. So it was a learning moment for me to say, all right, stop assuming that people know what you're talking about. We have to do a little bit. Like, you have to know who Marcus Freeman is. But anyways, so I want to write an article, Kyle, about what the hell is coming up in June. Okay, so I'm going to lay it out for you guys real quick. This weekend is quiet-ish. Notre Dame has a few guys coming on campus. We're going to talk about 3 of them. Okay? And unofficial visits. So unofficial versus official visit is unofficial. It's essentially you can stay as long as you want, considering you're not staying for 6 months or something crazy, right? You can't stay during a dead period. Different discussion for a different day. What a dead period is. It's just recruiting's dead face to face. That's what that is. But anyways, unofficial, you have to pay your way up, or at least that's the rule. Official is capped at 48 hours, but Notre Dame flies you up and wine and dines you, right? And same with all the other schools. Official visit, they pay you. They pay your flights up. They feed you. They put you in a hotel. All that kind of stuff. Okay, so Notre Dame's got a few kids on campus this weekend. The 5th and 6th, some guys start to come in. Some underclassmen, unofficial visits, camp. That stuff. So prospects in the 2027 and 2028 classes, that's rising sophomores and juniors in high school. They're going to participate in Notre Dame camp. They're going to have a visit event called the Grill and Chill on the 5th, or excuse me, the 6th. I keep getting mixed up which day that Friday is. It's the 6th, right, Kyle?
6th, yes.
And then the next weekend, the 13th, bro, might be the biggest recruiting weekend I've ever seen in terms of numbers for Notre Dame. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 commits. And Notre Dame has what, 16? So 12, I think it's 16. 12 of 16 Notre Dame commits all in one weekend. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, at least 9 targets. You could add more. And then in the middle of the next week, so like June 17th, Notre Dame will have at least 1 or 2 midweek official visitors. So guys who already have their weekends booked, but they're still going to come to South Bend during the week. And then the June 20th weekend will be another big one. It's going to have a ton of targets on campus. Not as many commits, but a lot more uncommitted guys. So huge. And then you take your June visits, and then you're probably going to commit in July or August. That's typically how it goes. Or you commit on the spot during your visit, and then you announce a commitment a couple days later. Like Kedron Young did that, if I recall correctly, a couple summers ago. I don't know why I just thought of that one, but he took his official visit. and I think he committed pretty much on the spot and then announced it like a day or two later, like, or 6 hours later, something like that. So that's kind of what the rundown is for what is ahead of us. It's busy for us. It's talking to sources, figuring out what the heck's going on, because things are just changing so much. Talking to the kids, of course. Sundays are like, I told my wife the other day, I was like, I don't know if I can go to church in June. I gotta call the recruits. It's hectic, and this is definitely a busy June. And I want to say in the past they've spread it out over the 3 weekends where they have official visitors. This year it's really just June 13th and June 20th, aside from the couple midweek guys that I mentioned. So that's kind of the rundown on the summer.
Yeah, I just checked because I was interested with your comment in terms of that 13th weekend being one of the biggest that you've covered with Notre Dame recruiting. And I would tend to agree. I was just looking at the numbers, and only one that comes close to it is in 2023. They had 17 visitors June 10th, which was a Friday. So that same timing in terms of the month. Let's see, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 guys who ended up signing and enrolling with Notre Dame. The rest of those guys were targets or guys that flipped away from Notre Dame. So yeah, this 13th, man, it's going to be a busy one.
Bernie said, how many recruiting events can recruits attend? Seems like a recruit can kind of just hang out at Notre Dame all summer. Yeah, remember Deuce Knight last summer? Sorry to bring him up again, but he spent like basically all June at Notre Dame, which is such a shock that he ended up visiting Ole Miss at the end of July, which, by the way, end of July, you can't take visits anymore. So call it the Deuce Knight rule. No more visits at the end of July. I'm joking.
Or you can just visit schools during the dead period.
Shouldn't.
Not supposed to.
All right, so let's talk about those 3 key prospects visiting. Alistair Vaheo, super interesting one. He gets to campus Saturday. Number 453 overall player, number 51 defensive lineman. This kid looks awesome on film. Good on 24/7 for their ranking of him. Sure, on 3 will bump him up. I would assume. Vaheo is announcing a commitment June 10th. The timing of this one was really interesting. Michigan, Kansas, Notre Dame, the finalist. He was going to take official visits. Let me see if it's. Let's see. We still have it. He was going to officially visit Michigan the 13th and Notre Dame the 20th. So June 10th commitment. I thought you would just wait until after those OVs, but he decided to go ahead, and he wants to commit sooner than later. And I like the Irish here. He's going to visit this weekend. He's going to take that Kansas OV from what he told you, Kyle, and then announce. And while Kansas gets the last OV, it would be pretty shocking if he picked the Jayhawks over Notre Dame and Michigan. And my sources feel pretty good about where Notre Dame's at. I'm only saying this because I truly don't know. If I knew something, I wouldn't say this. I have a gut feeling he's going to go to Notre Dame, like make a decision privately with them, and then maybe not go to Kansas. So if that Kansas trip gets canceled, it's a really damn good sign for Notre Dame. Again, if that was something I was hearing, I would have kept my mouth shut. But since I didn't hear that, this is completely my opinion.
Good old-fashioned speculation.
Good old-fashioned speculation indeed. But I am feeling good about where Notre Dame's standing. His best buddy is Tiki Hola, Notre Dame defensive line commit, another Texas kid. So that both Austin area kids as well. So that makes you feel a little bit better. Kyle, what's your read here? First visit, by the way.
Yeah.
To Notre Dame.
You know what I find interesting is like usually when like lower ranked guys like visit or like are emerging on Notre Dame's radar, like people always they just brush them off, and they just they don't really get excited about them. But for whatever reason, you being one of them as well, everyone on the Loose Emoji message board is obsessed with this guy. They love
his film's
Vallejo.
awesome.
Yeah, so I mean, this is a big Notre Dame target. I know the coaching staff, from what I've heard, likes him quite a bit. pretty good fit for Notre Dame. And uh, I found the quote that you put out there on his reasoning for the unofficial visit this weekend was pretty telling. And I don't want to give it all away, but basically that this was something driven by Vallejo. He wanted to get up to campus for an extended trip in early June, and
How do you
really,
pronounce his last name? What is
I
that
I, I
Vallejo?
don't know. I don't know. I'm
Vallejo.
saying
Vallejo
Vallejo.
sounds better than what I
Yeah.
said. Vallejo. I like that.
Usually two L's are Y in that part of the country, but I'm going with Vallejo.
All
So
right. I'll text him.
all
Go ahead.
right, all right, and yeah, not much else to say, man. Notre Dame. It seems like the Michigan folks are a little bit optimistic that they get it done. I think that's more driven by some of the past recruiting success they've had with him. Seems like Notre Dame's really coming on strong now. And to be honest, I mean, we were getting this question on the board over the last couple of days about who leads for Vallejo, and I don't even think it matters. like let the kid get up to South Bend for the
Yeah.
first time and
If
see
he
what
likes it.
happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I mean, to be honest, he could either really like going to Notre Dame going into the visit, it could just completely not be for him. It's not often we hear that, but it could happen.
Yeah.
Or B, he could be leaning towards Michigan, feel really good about the Wolverines, just wants to get to Notre Dame to, check the box and, make sure he's not missing anything, commit to the Wolverines. Or in that circumstance, Notre Dame could completely change his mind and blow him away, which we've seen happen way more often than not.
Yeah. I just noticed in this graphic that he's got a Michigan helmet, Notre Dame jersey, and I'm guessing that's Kansas pants. I just not saw that. I wanted to throw a couple things out there on this real quick. One, Notre Dame seemed like it was in a really good spot with its D-line board, and then still offered a few more guys. It's like, does this mean they're slipping with Tiki or they're not getting so and so? And I was like, no, they just D-line coaches are notoriously known for just I want more. They just always want more defensive linemen. They just do. There's always a cap. You're not going to take 8, I guess, unless you're USC. But Notre Dame's not going to go crazy with too many. But they offer more. Whether it's an insurance or it's, man, I just found this kid and I really like him. So they offer what? Tavian Branch and Marcus Almada, just a couple guys from the Northeast. And then they offered Alistair. And you just don't know, who is really going to emerge as a top guy? Who is just kind of a plan B or C? Alistair emerged right away as, yeah, we want this kid bad. That's what you're hearing, pretty much right away. So I wanted to throw that out there. And then another thing, Kyle, if Notre Dame lands that kid, what am I going to do on social media? I love dogging Michigan on social media. I've kind of leaned more into things like that. And, I unbuttoned the top button, I'm letting my hair down a little bit, show a little personality. What am I going to, I mean, every time Notre Dame beats Michigan for a recruit this cycle, which it's been pretty damn often, the Wolverines got the best of Notre Dame for Matt Ludwig, tip of the hat, for sure. Now Notre Dame offered a little too late there, but I don't know. This one would be just another where Notre Dame just stuffs Michigan in a locker. So I don't know. We'll see. But just wanted to mention that. Let's go through the rest of these. Ephraim White, super interesting. So J1 Cider, and did you notice the pronunciation, Kyle? Did that for you?
Yeah, I would have swore it was Ephraim.
Oh, no, I was talking about Cider's first name.
Oh,
Ephraim. Yeah, I don't know. Well, so Ephraim White. So J1 Cider and Mike Brown were recruiting in South Florida, and they stopped at several powerhouse programs. One of them being Vero Beach, down in the southern part of the state, and they offered Ephraim White. And Cider had been recruiting White forever. If you go through White's social media, when he tweeted his offer from Penn State like 2 years ago. He tagged Sider. Sider, of course, a Sunshine State native. Plenty of ties, especially in that, like, if you like look at like Miami on a map, a little bit more north on that side of the state. I believe that's kind of Sider stomping ground specifically, if I'm recalling correctly. So Sider was there with Brown. So Notre Dame's offering White as a receiver. So you have your receivers coach and kind of that area recruiter where Sider's so well known for doing a good job for the schools that he's worked for. And White is a longtime Florida State commit, and he's from the Sunshine State, and I've got a gut feeling that Notre Dame might be able to pull this one off. And Blue and Gold, to my knowledge, was the first report. Shocking, by the way. Blue and Gold dominating recruiting coverage. What else is new? That he's unofficially visiting this weekend. He gets to campus. He told me on June 1st, and we'll be there for a couple days. So it's an unofficial, but it's kind of treated as an official, where it's like he's there for 2 days, and I think he's going to do everything that you would do in a sense for an official visit. Like Notre Dame's going to roll out the red carpet for him when he's there. And you could ask the question, why not just do an official visit? I think the sense is get him for an unofficial and then get him right away locked in for an official. Get him twice in June. That is a really strong power move. So that's Ephraim White, 4-star, number 228 overall player, number 10 athlete. Again, committed to Florida State since December 2023. That's a long time pledge. I believe a different receivers coach that he committed to. So, he's kind of been looking around under the radar for a while, and I believe he's done some interviews where we talk about other schools, but I got a sneaky feeling here that Notre Dame might be able to pull off this flip, which would be a major deal.
I love it. I love they're getting them up to campus, and I specifically love the way Jaywan Sider is involved in this recruitment. It seems like I don't know a bunch about Sider yet, but it seems like this guy just really invested in recruiting, building relationships, getting to know high school guys. I mean, from every high schooler I talk to, they rave about Coach Sider and how great of a recruiter he is. And it just seems like Jaywan Sider needs something to do right now. He's got his 2 commits in the 25 cycle, or sorry, I keep calling 25, 26, and Javian Osborne and Jonas Walton, the 2 highly ranked guys. And, the priority is going to be keeping those guys locked in. And there's a group of 2027's guys he definitely likes, but I think we saw this at Penn State with Sider, where he was known to go outside of his position group and kind of help with area recruiting. Like when we talk about area recruiting, I think it's way different than maybe it was like 10, 20, 30 years ago, where area recruiting was much more important.
Yeah.
But Sider is like one of those anomalies where area recruiting really does matter. And I'm all for him, man. Just get him involved as many recruitments as possible, because he seems like he has the pedigree and the willingness to be involved and build relationships and help Notre Dame improve at more positions than just running back. So I love what they're doing there.
Hold on. And we
sounds like a pronunciation we're getting.
Longtime listeners of this show know that pronunciation is a big deal for Eagle Scout Kyle. So I'm just messaging Alistair back. Okay. I said doing a show with Cal Kelly right now, and we weren't sure, so I figured I'd ask. He said Vallejo, which is what I said, right? Alistair Vallejo?
Vallejo?
Practice off air. Yeah, so it is the double L is the Y. Vallejo.
Jello. I was trying to think of words with 2 L's that are actually pronounced with 2 L's.
Yeah, but when you have
Hello.
Yeah, there you go, Kyle. But it's, of the, like this, the Spanish descent, right? Double L. Yeah, learned that in Spanish class. Okay, sorry, just got a couple texts coming. I was gonna say this at the beginning of the show. Like, this is the time of year where it's like, guys, I can't guarantee that I'm gonna be on the entire show. Like, I might need to take some phone calls, but you know, we're all good over here. And then one more, Kyle, to talk about. This was your news. Great scoop on this one because I honestly forgot about this kid, Jaden Warren from Iowa Colony in Rosharon, Texas. I'm sure some Texans get the most angry about pronunciations. It's like, Mike, it's not pronounced that. So I shouldn't even say anything. Iowa Colony, 6'2", 183 pounds, the nation's number 124 overall player, number 20 wide receiver, 6'2", 183 pounds. He added a Notre Dame offer in the spring. I interviewed him. He seemed very interested. One of his high school coaches has a connection to Mike Martin, Notre Dame's GM. So there's things there where it's like, oh, like maybe, but then he scheduled 6 OVs and none of them were Notre Dame. And I was like, it's probably not a good look. So I kind of was like, all right, I guess this kid's not coming to Notre Dame. Kyle did a great job staying on top of it and staying in touch with Jaden. And Jaden told Kyle that he is visiting Notre Dame June 1st through 3rd. So he'll be up there along with Ephraim White. And Warren is one of the fastest players in the 2026 class, Kyle.
Yeah, 10.36, I think it was in the 100-meter earlier this spring, which just to put that in perspective, man, I mean, that's blazing fast. I think Jay Love was maybe like a 10.5, 10.6, 10.7 guy. I mean, all those, even though they're tenths of a second difference, they do matter. But yeah, I don't know if I've written about a recruit with a faster 100-meter dash time than Jaden Warren. And I've written about a lot of speedsters. So what was Micah Bell actually? I feel like
I want to say he was like a 10.4 kid.
Okay, so Jaden Warren even be faster than Micah Bell. Yeah, so I love, once again, approach Notre Dame's taken here because they got 2 wide receivers committed, and you would think that, they're in a good spot with other guys like Caden Finley, who we've talked about for a while, and Braden Robinson, and Cohen Brown's coming on really strong for Notre Dame, and then there's Devin Fitzgerald down in Phoenix, who idolizes Notre Dame and could very well end up in the class. But I like the fact that they're just bringing as many guys up to campus as possible. We touched on White earlier, who would be a flip candidate from Florida State, and now Warren. Because, as we talk about so many times before, man, you never know what's going to happen once these guys get up to Notre Dame. It can really resonate. I mean, heck, with Bubba Frazier, he visited Notre Dame for the first time and committed. So that's one of Notre Dame's wide receiver commits. I mean, we see it all the time, every cycle. So even then, if they do strike out with some of these guys, what's to say that you can't bring them back a second time during the season? So, interesting part of Warren's recruitment, 6 of those official visits, I think 5 of them are in Texas. Or basically, I mean, one of them is Oklahoma. The other 4, I think, are, TCU, Texas A&M, SMU, and maybe one other. So he's also going to OV Nebraska, but it seems like primarily his recruitment's taking place in that end of the country there. And unlike all the schools he's officially visiting, I believe this Notre Dame is going to be the outlier in terms of this should be his first time up on campus. So we'll see what happens, man. Good on Mike Martin and Mike Brown and everyone else involved in this recruitment to get him up to campus. And who knows, man? Maybe he'll cancel one of those OVs and get up to campus in June.
That's definitely the play.
Ideal.
That's definitely the play. Let me just see. Let me pull up your article, Kyle. You don't have the specific dates of which visit is happening when. But yeah, TCU, SMU, Warren.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because there was some confusion about that. So I want, like, for example, he said he was visiting Oklahoma like June 28th, which that can't happen because it's dead period. So just wanted to avoid any confusion.
Yeah. Smart. Okay. You want to see something? You know how I love saying things like, folks who watch the show for a while remember this. Like there's just some things like pronunciations and the word priority, and there's some things that we just good
Spreadsheets.
callback to spreadsheets. I was just looking at Twitter. So here's the tweet about Thomas Davis Jr. Guy says, correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought the offer would be pulled once he committed to Notre Dame and took another official visit as Coach Freeman changed his stance.
Oh God.
It's one of those things, man, that I'm just like, that was a thing, like one recruiting class, the 23 cycle. Justin Rhett wanted to take an official visit to Georgia and do whatever else, and this was Notre Dame's first recruiting class under first full recruiting class under Marcus Freeman and Chad Bowden, those guys, and they were like, for this year, like this, well, we feel like we should do this, right? And Keon Keeley and all the stuff like. And then that was it. But for whatever reason, that went into the brain of so many Notre Dame fans. It's just stuck there. A lot of things, like my plans for this weekend with my wife, go in one ear and out the other. Kyle, you'll learn that when you get married. But for the official visit policy 3 years ago, it's just stuck in the brains, and it's not escaping. It's not going through the other ear. It's just stuck here. I don't know. That's fascinating. And no offense to Rocket25 on Twitter, but it's something else. I don't know why that it stuck so hardcore, and we just remember it. Anyways,
that's why I brought it up earlier in the show.
Yeah, you did.
It's not really a thing anymore.
Yeah.
I think it was kind of stupid too, because Notre Dame was like, okay, yeah, we also can't, like, if we're going to put this policy in place for our commits, we can't host other committed prospects on OVs. Which
Notre Dame has.
I mean, if the kids
done recently,
if the kids want to visit elsewhere, like they're going to visit elsewhere. Like, how many times did Peyton Bowen?
Yeah, I think
visit Oklahoma?
The Rhett thing was to it was like a scare tactic, for the lack of a better term. Like that's really what it was in the 23 class, because I think there was a concern about that. But then when you shifted, 24, they didn't have that, because 23. I guess I can just pull it up. All right, so 2023, there's a good bit of decommits. Brandon Hillman, I don't count. He signed with Notre Dame. He just, couldn't get in school. Peyton Bowen, Jaden Lamar, Keon Keeley, Dylan Edwards, Elijah Page. Yeah, Cedric Irvin, Justin Rhett. That's a lot of decommits.
Don't look at last year's on.
Right, but all of these guys decommitted. Well, maybe except for one, decommitted from Notre Dame rather than Notre Dame decommitting from them. You know what I'm saying? 25, you have some parting of ways. There's been debate about Sean Terry. I don't think so. Like Nate Roberts decommitted so early. CJ May, they just took too early. So you have you got a couple that were parting away, but I don't know. Anyways, we'll end it there. Kyle, good show.
What they say about news, man. You can't ever end on something negative, otherwise people won't come back.
blueandgold.com.
So give us some juice. Give us some juice for this weekend.
I'm planning on bringing back my fake questions, real answers column, which throughout the week I'm like, ooh, that's a good thing. Like no one's asking me about this, but I want to talk about it, and I don't know in what forum to write this. But there's some things that it's a fake question that I made up, and I'm going to answer it. So that column will be coming out today. Blue and gold it's popping, brother. It's popping. Let me refresh the page.
Yeah, so you got to refresh that.
Yeah, I updated our little front page carousel, so you can read some stuff from Freeman's interview yesterday. You can read more on Thomas Davis Jr. Dude, recruiting especially. Kyle wrote a little story on what Freeman said about recruiting. 4-star Chicagoland quarterback coming to campus. Couple of top tight end targets coming to campus. Elijah Golden update. Huge Notre Dame 4-star D-line target. Awesome column on Al Washington. Maybe we'll talk about this next week. We're going to talk about today. We ran out of time. And just tons of news, scoop, intel, all that stuff. blueandgold.com is the place to be. Folks, hit the thumbs up on this video if you have not done so yet. And yeah, we will be live next Tuesday, 5 p.m. for the Notre Dame six-pack show. I'll be back with Tim next Wednesday night, and you can catch us next Friday, most likely. We might have to change it, actually.
Ooh, yeah, we are not doing that next Friday.
So maybe Thursday. Maybe Kyle and I will be live next Thursday. TBD. I'll tweet about it, as always, at Mike T. Singer. And also follow Kyle at by Kyle Kelly. All right, folks. We'll catch you folks later. Have a good weekend. And yeah, you guys take it easy.